It's 12 noon in Accra, 1 p.m. in Berlin. This is Midday Live, coming to you from the News Hub here inside Kanda. My name is Nanekuya Mensah Brampa. The headlines this afternoon. Former Minister of Petroleum Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah asks government to scrap special petroleum tax with immediate effect. Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority describes demonstration by COPEC and ICU over fuel price increases as unjustified. And later, Ghana loses some $100 million to illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices. Right, so Ghana losing some $100 million to illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices along her coastline. And later on the foreign front, Germany's center-left Social Democrats reach agreement on a coalition government with Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative CDU. So we have the detail of these as well as sports, also entertainment in the next hour. Stay with us. And starting with this afternoon, former Minister of Petroleum Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah says government should scrap the special petroleum tax with immediate effect. Now, according to the Elembele MP, Ghanaians have been by government with increasing fuel prices.
It is a huge burden on Ghanaians. Let me also say that we have a special stabilization levy. Specifically, the purpose of that is for government to use that money. Roughly, it comes about 30 million a month to cushion Ghanaians when prices begin to go up. The question that I have is how much has that levy been applied in basically cushioning Ghanaians? I believe that as we speak today, crude prices are hovering almost at $60 per barrel. The time has come for government to listen to the pain of Ghanaians and scrap the special petroleum tax. And the reason I'm calling for that is because its purpose has been achieved. It is no longer important to be in that huge burden. In fact, if you take the tax burden on Ghanaians, if you take the price build-up, it is close to 49% of the petrol you buy, roughly almost $21, 21 Ghana cedi per a gallon is in taxes. The energy sector levy is there, as you know. And I won't even go into that because, as you know, there was a lot of noise made about the energy sector levy. The energy sector levy is also close to $2, 2 Ghana cedi. But guess what? The government has gone ahead to issue the bond based on that levy for the next 10, 15 years. So I'm not even going to go there. But I think it's important that in the face of the taxes and the reasoning that I've given, the special petroleum tax must be removed with immediate effect.
And still on the special petroleum tax, commercial drivers and consumers of petroleum products have demonstrated over what they describe as the persistent increases in the prices of petroleum products. And the demonstration is being organized by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, in collaboration with the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union.
The special petroleum tax at 15%, when world market prices go up, the taxes is also rising. And we are saying that if it was only down to world market prices, today petrol would have been around 11 cedis. If you look at ex-refinery price, unfortunately, the taxes are also rising. And we are drawing the attention of the government to the need to at least ensure that some of these taxes, it does something about them in order to stabilize prices for all of us. The MPA clearly has not done enough. If it has, prices will not continue to rise even yesterday.
Right, so that was Duncan Amwa with COPEC saying the MPA has not done enough. But the National Petroleum Authority, the MPA, says the protest march by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, and Industrial Commercial Workers Union over hikes in the price of petroleum products is not justified. Now, according to the NPA, under the current price deregulation regime, which has been in effect since July 2015, price volatility on the international market is expected to directly impact domestic palm prices, as government has no direct control over the setting of the bi-weekly prices of petroleum products. The authority has, however, urged interested groups to come for further clarity on the current state of petroleum products prices, as it will ensure that the public is not misled by those who are motivated by reasons other than those of national interest. And away from that, representatives of 3 workers' unions are lobbying President Nana Akufo-Addo to demand the scrapping of the Special Petroleum Levy. And the general secretaries of the 3 unions spoke exclusively to TV3 in Accra ahead of the President's State of Nation address to be delivered on Thursday. The unions are the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, the Ghana Medical Association, and the Civil and Local Government Staff Association.
Government in 2014 rolled out the Special Petroleum Levy policy to raise revenue and defray costs in the energy sector. The petroleum levy policy was pegged at 17.5% to defray a 1.4 billion Ghana cedis cost, until in 2017, government reviewed it to 15% to reduce its impacts on Ghanaians. However, prior to the President's State of the Nation address, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union is asking government to scrap it. The union is of the view government should find alternative ways of raising funds to offset debt in the energy sector. The union also asked the President to explain how the National Health Insurance Scheme will be sustained without imposing a 1% levy on workers.
On the very ailment that it covers, or is going to still be the malaria and those small ones, whether the national health issues will really be solved. They are looking for more money. Whether the President could find a better means apart from coming to take levies from employers and employees into that particular arena.
The General Secretary, Solomon Kotei, again praised the government's efforts at maintaining macroeconomic stability. He pleaded that adequate stimulus packages should be provided for employers and the growing companies.
If I'll take the clothing sector, okay, the GTP, the Akosomo Textiles, etc., you will notice that this is one particular segment of our society that has the capacity to engage, but they've looked on the market itself, have taken the jobs out of them, to the utilities that they are paying is starting to write home about.
The General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Dufo Yankson, rather implored the President to account for the amount accrued from the petroleum exploration.
What are we doing with our oil, for instance? Are we in the process of, let's say, putting up refineries, what have you, such that we'll get a maximum out of it?
He also called for adequate measures to reduce the unemployment rate.
After a year, government should be able to tell us that this is our unemployment situation, and so far, these are the number of jobs we've created. If they can even give a breakdown sector by sector, then we know we are moving on as a people.
But the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOCSAC, charged the President to explain how to raise internally generated funds.
We believe that we've got to a time of our development where we should be looking at how much money we ourselves have generated, not always relying on donor funds for our projects. So we want the President to tell us something about how our internally generated fund and how that is going to input into the budget.
You're watching Midday Live. Remember, you can stay interactive with us on our platforms. Facebook, it's TV3 Ghana. Also on Twitter, TV3_Ghana. Tomorrow this afternoon, Ghana loses $100 million to illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices along her coastline. Now, these illegal fishing practices have accounted for the depletion of fish stock in Ghana's waters, making the country spend over $142 million on fish imports. Stakeholders at a ministerial meeting are proposing stiffer regulation to manage the situation.
Ghana is one of the top 5 fish-consuming countries in the world. The fishing sector provides employment to over 10% of the population and raking in $200 million in revenue from exports annually. Illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing is, however, a major problem confronting the sector. The challenge is also a global problem, leading to the loss of between $10 to $23.5 billion every year. In Ghana, the Fisheries Commission estimates a whopping $100 million is lost annually. This has resulted in a decline in fish stocks over the last 10 years, with fishermen, especially artisanal fishers, devising illegal means to increase their catch. However, some progress has been made in monitoring and controlling the industrial and semi-industrial fishers due to the digital means of monitoring their activities at sea. Compliance among artisanal fishers, according to the Fisheries Commission, has been minimal due to limited monitoring and surveillance.
And this is where the problem is, because majority of our fishermen are using these basic technology in order for their trade. And it is not a small population. We are talking about millions of people who are dependent upon fishing for their daily bread. So dealing with them politically is very, very difficult. And this is why in Parliament, those of us at the time who were in opposition were always criticizing the government of the day for not cracking the whip and allowing our resources to go down by only a small minority of our population. Now it is our turn as the government to crack the whip.
Stakeholders at the ministerial meeting on fishing in Accra shared ideas on how best to manage the situation. One consensus was the need to enforce existing laws.
We need to understand that Ghana, as a coastal state, flag state, and a port state, has a major role to play both locally and internationally in ensuring that fish stocks, not only in its waters, but also shared stocks, are responsibly fished in order to conserve them for posterity.
Research is one area that is equally weak in fisheries. Whereas we are talking about weak enforcement, there is weak information gathering. There is weak information analysis. There is weak information dissemination. So that area we need to address properly.
Let's turn our attention to do some health now, as 31 people have died from Lassa fever in Nigeria since the start of this year. Now, the Nigerian Health Minister, Isaac Adewale, said the outbreak was currently active in 15 states. 10 of the 31 dead were health workers. In Ivory Coast, Health and Public Hygiene Minister Raymond Goudou Kofi said the country had stepped up vigilance in light of the situation in affected countries and the flow of travelers among the nations of the sub-region. And joining us via phone this afternoon is Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekoin, who is the head of disease surveillance at the Ghana Health Service. Hello, sir. We're grateful for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, in relation to the Lassa fever, what measures are you putting in place to ensure the outbreak does not occur or extend here in Ghana?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the outbreak has been ongoing in Nigeria for some weeks' time. What we have done is we have sent an alert to the regions and districts. The idea is that this apparently we have had Lassa fever in Ghana before. I think that was in 2011, and so we have sent an alert to the regions and districts that the clinicians must be on high alert, because the presenting complaint is not very simple. So it means that the clinician must ask a lot of questions to be able to ascertain whether it could be another case of or a case of Lassa fever. So the alert has been sent. We have also looked at the the idea is that you see, basically when you get a disease, you can transmit it from, let's say, the patient to another health worker. So we are saying that we are strengthening our infection prevention control so that health workers are not affected. So we have kind of pre-positioned PPEs, that is personal protective equipment, that's protective clothing, that the health workers will wear if there should be a case that is attended to. So, and then we also have, we are in touch with WHO. You know, Lassa fever can actually be treated. So if there should be a case of Lassa fever in Ghana, we are going to rely on WHO to get us the medicine to treat the cases.
Okay, Doc, but let's turn our attention to our borders. You would agree that we have porous borders and travelers come in daily from Nigeria. What really are we doing with regards to our borders, considering the fact that we have about 31 cases in Nigeria? We have more of them also coming here to Ghana.
Yes, as I said, that's why I said the alert has been sent. Let me explain how you get a disease. See, you get a disease in two ways. One is when you get into contact with the infected animal, who is a rodent, through its secretions, then you may get the disease. The other one is when you get into contact with the ill patient through its secretions, you may get it. So as far as possible, you make sure that you avoid contact with any ill patient whose secretions might get into contact with you.
Yes, I understand that point you made, but we want to find out how you're liaising with immigration officials at these borders, basically.
We are working, we have hotel staff who are situated at our point of entry, and they have been alerted to be on the lookout for such cases. So that is what we are doing now. And let me say that, you know, currently in Ghana, we have this thermal scanners or temperature detecting equipment that can actually detect the case of high temperature that is okay. So what is very good is that it's the secretions of the persons that will get you infected. So far as you are not in contact with the person, you are not likely to get the disease.
Right. We are grateful for your time, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bequin, Head of Disease Surveillance at the Ghana Health Service. But really, what is Lassa fever and what are the signs and symptoms? How does it come about? We had Dr. Franklin telling us, but he joins us here in the studio to also give us a brief of what exactly the fever is all about. Dr. Gabriel Benaku is the National Chairman of the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health. We are grateful for your time this afternoon, Doctor.
Thank you.
Really, what is Lassa fever?
I think Dr. Bequin would have been the best.
He was trying to give us a breakdown of it. But
he's the mouthpiece of the Ghana Health Service, and we can't take that job from them. But from what he's saying, I think I will commend them for the initial work that he has just started. But we want to see more. We want to see more because I'm just coming from the airport. And so I want to see that practical alert has been given.
So when you were at the airport, did you see any,
I didn't see any sign
of the things
so that's what I'm saying. That we quite appreciate that they are working hard to ensure that Ghanaians are educated. But we keep on saying, and the Coalition of NGOs has always talked about Ghana's emergency response, that we have always relaxed. And so he's telling us what they are doing. Of course, it's too early, but we want to monitor. We'll give them at least up to the weekend and see how they are going to roll out an additional package to the meningitis that we battled with recently. You see, just like he rightly said, it's caused by a virus through the rodent or the rat, and it is associated with a lot of complications, vomiting, you have hard cough.
Has it got to do with consumption of rats' meat? It's what's called a bela, if I'm right.
It can be if it is not cooked well, because some people within West Africa, it's very common in West Africa. So it can be, but the most important thing is either it's caused by the contact of the infected rodent or human being who have already contracted it. So whichever way you look at it, it has both human and the causative agent.
Right.
Now, Ghana needs to come out with one health policy. and I hope Dr. Bekwin is listening, they need to integrate their public health emergency in relation to One Health policy. Last year, we launched the One Health in Ghana, in the Minister of Health's hometown in Doma. What the country needs now is to collaborate with the Minister of Health, the Ghana Health Service, and the Minister of Food and Agriculture to come out with a One Health policy that will be integrated into the public health emergency response and educational package.
Okay. That
we don't have. You see, most of the viral infections that we have in this country or within the West Africa sub-region are caused by bears and animals. You see, and we don't have a policy that robustly will link up.
So basically what you're proposing is getting one
we need
policy.
A One Health policy
one
to
health
support
policy.
even rabies, anti-rabies campaign, Ebola, and all the other infectious diseases that are caused by rodents.
Right. We are grateful for your time this afternoon. Dr. Gabriel Benaku is the national chairman of the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health. And you're still live on Midday Live. To some other stories this afternoon, members of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union wants the Attorney General to facilitate the process of ceding off part of its prosecutorial powers to the Auditor General. Now, the General Secretary of the union, Solomon Kote, said this will further strengthen and enable the Auditor General to pursue cases and retrieve misappropriated funds to court.
The law establishing the Audit Service only empowers the Auditor General to search out those who have engaged in financial malfeasance. But governance experts have proposed the need to give prosecutorial powers to the Auditor General. The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, thinks this is in the right direction.
We are seeing with the Public Accounts Committee, so far all we see people go there, get their stories, either they are sacked, they have to come back and the story ends there. So if now he thinks that with the kind of work he's doing, he needs to have some enforceable powers, I pray that the CJ may consider it appropriate and then grant it unto him.
The Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, has already complained about the lack of prosecutorial powers to retrieve misappropriated funds from government offices. In December 2016, Auditor General reports revealed some metropolitan and district assemblies misappropriated over 345,000 Ghana cedis. In the report, some agencies within the ministries also paid more than 5 million Ghana cedis to contractors for work not done.
And J Initiative, a non-governmental organization engaged in using the internet for safe and productive purposes, has urged Ghanaians to be cautious about content shared on the internet. Executive Director for the Data Protection Commission, Patricia Opoku, says sanity on cyberspace would help to protect children from getting access to negative content online.
J Initiative, organizers of the Fora, is a grassroots, youth and family-focused, non-governmental organization dedicated to raising awareness and addressing issues that negatively affect families, especially women and children. The organization has been working towards achieving this for the past 4 years. The executive director, Awo Aidam Amenya, said the purpose of having positive change on cyberspace is to protect the future generation.
We're looking at a system which will be seemingly foolproof for safety of children and young people. We wouldn't have a situation where a revenge porn will be circulating online in the name of a stool challenge. We're also looking at a system where we could have a place that young people could easily reach and report cases of abuse online and see results.
At the 2018 Safer Internet Day Fora in Accra, the president of International Systems Audit and Control Association, Carl Saki, urged parents to play their parental role in environment that is constantly changing.
WhatsApp encrypts content. Okay, so if it's on, there's no way you get to know. But as a parent, you should be able to pick the device and have a look at what content your child has been looking at. If you are not careful, you can have children who delete it. One of those processes where you need to constantly keep chasing them. First create that awareness, you train them, build that trust, and then also review what content is shared.
Statistics on the online World Factbook shows in Ghana alone, there are 10.11 million internet users, with 5.60 million of them as active social media users. The issue, however, has been the increase of pornographic content on the various social media platforms where children are usually exposed to. The Executive Director for the Data Protection Commission is Patricia Opoku.
We are working actively with the media and internet service providers and those accessible to us in this country to, one, engage with them to understand the obligations they have concerning information that they are securing or transmitting on behalf of individuals or organizations. The problem with social media is that it does not stay on one platform. So you are tackling it on, say, YouTube, and then it goes on to WhatsApp, and then it moves on to Facebook. And so we are following it around as best as we can, but once it's shared and it's sitting on somebody's phone, it's hard to track it and to keep it off.
The fora, which was being conducted simultaneously across the country, was on a theme: create, connect and share respect, a better internet start with you.
And still on technology, more than 13 computers and system units have been abandoned at the Tegbi Computer Lab Center in the Keta district of the Volta region due to the lack of electricity. Now, managers of the center want government to assist them to defray the electricity cost of 2,500 Ghana cedis.
The computers were procured in 2014 by the Keta District Assembly to facilitate academic work among pupils in the community. However, since 2014, the computers have not been in use. The District Assembly is owing the Electricity Company of Ghana to the tune of 2,500 Ghana cedis.
This is a dead lab center. Who's supposed to pay the rest?
Well, the community or whatever. That's all the assembly. But the assembly also doesn't have you see, most of the assemblies, they are not really committed to this program. Maybe until they see it, they see its value, they would. But currently, when we spoke with the MC, I spoke with the MC about 3 days ago. He assured me that after this, we'll sit down and see how things can be managed.
Although the assembly has offset half of the amount, electricity supply to the center cannot be reconnected until the full amount is paid.
In the next few months, JHS 3 students will be taking part in the upcoming BEC exams, while SHS 3 students also be writing WASI exams. But here at Tegbi Kota in the Volta region, the lab center is now a dead place. Students cannot access this place because all the computers are malfunctioning, they are not working.
Another computer lab which has also been set up at Tegbi Junior High School to assist pupils is a pale shadow of itself. 1 out of 10 of the computers is operable, and this is affecting academic work of pupils. The headmaster of the school, Charles Seshi, is pleading with government to assist them to secure an effective computer lab.
Bring about 30 kids in at a go.
At a go? At a go. To just sit behind only this computer?
Yes, they sit down and then the teacher use this one to demonstrate to them.
But do they try their hands on the computer?
Yes, the teacher called them one after the other to come and try their hands. One to have first-hand experience on them.
The Rotary Club of Tema and Chiefs of Tegbi have promised to provide a lifeline for the Computer Laboratory Center. Both partners and the Union of Commerce and Finance Workers, UNICOF, have renovated a library in the community to improve upon the academic work of students.
Next step is to ensure that personally and to solicit funds to ensure that at least we bring back the computers so that anybody who comes here from the library will go to the ICT center. Even the children, when they have assignment, once you come here to do your reference, you could go on the PC, type your assignment. So
they have also pledged to provide funding to renovate educational facilities in
Daniel Opoku with that report from the Volta region. We're taking a breather on Midday Live. We return with more. Stay with us. Right, so you're still watching Midday Live. Let's do some business now. An executive director of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, IFS, Professor Newman Kwejo Entry, insists Ghanaians need to know the cost-benefit analysis done in arriving at the decision by government to build a new oil refinery at the cost of $4 billion. Now, this, he indicated, will help the country to decide either to build a new refinery or retool TOR.
In 2007, the country discovered oil in commercial quantities. The type of crude oil could, however, not be refined by Tema Oil Refinery. The decision at that time should have been taken as to whether to recalibrate TOR, said that it could refine Ghana's oil when it came on stream or build a new refinery. This was to save cost of oil importation.
But for some reason, the leadership, the government during those days did not do that. Up to now, where every barrel of our crude oil that is produced here has to be exported because our own refinery cannot refine.
Professor Newman Kusi suggests government needs to weigh the cost-effectiveness of retooling TOR against building a new refinery.
If our part of the decision-making process, we will then have to do a cost-benefit analysis. Would it cost us less to redesign and recapitalize the existing, refinery vis-a-vis building a completely new refinery? Which of these two will be cost-effective as far as the country is concerned? I think that exercise needs to be done before a decision, can be done can be taken on that.
An economist with the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Dr. Said Bouachi, noted building a new refinery is a big issue, as the country depends on imported oil to service consumers. He stated the implicit cost associated with importation of oil will reduce should the country refine its crude oil.
Is it because they want to build a new one to be able to refine our products? And if that's the case, then why is it that they are not trying to, like Prof saying, recalibrate, restructure the existing one to be able to refine the oil you are producing over here in order to save the cost of import, cost of transportation, and exchange rate variation? We have to see what they want to do, the problem they are trying to solve. If you understand that, then you can have a decision on that.
To agriculture now, and Ghana performed poorly in a recent study conducted by the World Bank on enabling the business of agriculture. Ghana's seed score was ranked 48 from amongst 62 countries studied in that report.
The report provides quantitative indicators from 8 topics on regulations for seed, fertilizer, machinery, finance, markets, transport, water and ICT. It represents data that measures legal barriers for businesses operating in agriculture in 62 economies and across 12 topic areas. The report aims to foster a more conducive environment for the agribusiness by providing key data on regulatory frameworks that are globally comparable and actionable, and as well strengthen the information base that can be used for policy dialogue and reform. Farmers have in the past also complained about the lack of ready market to sell their goods, as well as poor transport systems in sending their goods to the marketplace.
And the Chartered Institute of Insurance Ghana has embarked on a campaign to promote public trust in the insurance industry and its services it offers through professionalism.
Over 50 insurance companies currently operate in the country, serving a population of 27 million people. Insurance penetration, however, remains relatively low at about 2%. Stakeholders in the industry say low patronage of insurance services is mainly due to the low level of insurance literacy in the country, as well as the lack of trust and inadequate financial resources. At its President cocktail event held for members of the sector, the Institute called on members to conduct themselves professionally in order to win the trust of the public. The event also witnessed the unveiling of a new logo for the Institute, as it has changed its status legally and is now a chartered institution. which means it can now organize and conduct its own chartered examinations.
We go from here to write the charter in the UK to qualify as chartered practitioners in Ghana. So why can't we have it locally? And why can't we exercise our own 60 years after independence? So I see it as a misnomer that we're still going to UK to write exams to qualify as chartered people. So the time is now.
He said when the charter is granted, it will be able to sanction the bad nuts in the industry to increase public trust and confidence.
When we are ethical, when we are fair, when we treat customers right, that way they have confidence, and when they are buying insurance, they know that the monies I'm paying as premium are for my good, not necessarily for somebody else's good.
And that's it for Business. When we return, he joins us with sports. Steering in next. Stay with us. And Germany's centre-left Social Democrats, SPD, have reached an agreement on a coalition government with Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative CDU. Now, a deal on distributing ministries was said to be one of the last major hurdles towards forming a coalition. The agreement looks set to end more than 4 months of wrangling since inconclusive elections in September. Negotiators have been in non-stop talks since Tuesday morning, and the remaining stumbling blocks have been workers' rights and healthcare. And South Africa's governing party, the ANC, has postponed a top-level meeting scheduled for today that was expected to decide on President Jacob Zuma's future. The opposition threatened to disrupt the speech, saying Mr. Zuma could no longer remain in office.
The ANC has instead released a statement saying it has held fruitful and constructive decisions with Mr. Zuma. Mr. Zuma is under growing pressure from members of his own party to resign amid corruption allegations. Early on Tuesday, Parliament took the unusual step of postponing Thursday's State of the Nation address. South Africa's Times Live website quoted unnamed sources as saying Mr. Zuma was prepared to quit if the right terms can be negotiated. The formal National Executive Committee meeting has been set for February 17 and 18. The ANC's party leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, said in a statement, "The high-level group has the power to remove the president from office without his agreement. Opposition parties are demanding that a vote of no confidence be held to remove him." Mr. Zuma, 75, was replaced as party leader by Mr. Ramaphosa, his 65-year-old deputy, in December. Mr. Ramaphosa is set to succeed him as president.
To entertainment now. And on entertainment this afternoon, the National Commission on Culture and under the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture have declared the month of March as Wear Ghana Month. Now, the initiative is to encourage the patronage of made-in-Ghana products, and also it's tipped to boost the textile and fashion industry. Also, Orai has more.
To patronize locally made goods have been unending. In 2004, government launched the National Friday Wear program, an initiative aimed at projecting a unique Ghanaian identity through the extensive use of local fabrics and designs. The program set aside Fridays for Ghanaians to wear locally designed garments. The National Commission on Culture, through its Wear Ghana concept, intends to boost the campaign.
But we must start from somewhere. You are buying the foreign one for 10 cedis because the Italian or the German or the American is buying from his own country. So they are able to make more money. When you and I start wearing Ghana, the price will come down because they will produce more.
The project is expected to create jobs and help revamp the textile and fashion industry.
It is sold by a young guy, Ima, around Newtown. And it's far cheaper than going to a boutique and get something for 150 for one shirt. This is less than 150. This is about 50 cedis. Okay. Yeah.
The Wear Ghana Month will be launched by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture later this month.
Well, so that would do for Midday Live this afternoon. But let's take a quick recap of stories gone by this afternoon. And our former Minister of Petroleum, Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa, has asked government to scrap the special petroleum tax with immediate effect. Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority has described the demonstration by COPEC and ICU over the fuel price increases as unjustified. Also, Ghana is losing some $100 million to illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices. So you can still follow us on twenews.com for more news updates. That will do for now. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. There's more later tonight. Well, enjoy your lunch and have a good afternoon.